66-1 to make a successful cup defence, the Fir Park outfit is beginning to produce again the exciting form of last year, form which could prove to be troublesome for their hosts tomorrow.
The most important thing is that we have got to go in there, we've got to get over the atmosphere of Ibrox, because it's a very intimidating place for anybody. The vast majority of the crowd are going to be for Rangers, but we've got a good vocal support going in there. The most important thing that we've got to do is do ourselves justice on the day, and if we play as we can play, I don't think Rangers will find things very easy.
And there's a few more big names who won't find it easy tomorrow. Premier Division sides Hibs and Falkirk both face hard-to-handle First Division opposition. We are guaranteed one of their number in the last 8, though, when Morton play Meadowbank. But we'll start our preview of the rest of the ties with the All-Premier showdown between Dunfermline and Hearts.
This was the controversial penalty award which began Hearts' demolition of St Mirren in a third-round replay. It also launched John Robertson en route to a memorable hat-trick.
1-0 to Hearts. It's still a long time coming. Good cross by Wright, the header by Robertson, and that may settle it. Grab to Robertson. The hat-trick for John Robertson.
Dunfermline have already had that cup final feeling this season. With relegation looming, but the Fifers' form improving, another cup run is not out of the question.
Keith is right on form again in the cup. The Hibs hero who sealed Skull Cup victory in October looked in the mood against Partick Thistle.
Rotalana gets the cross in, and it's there. Keith Wright with his second goal of the game.
But Clydebank too have their own Scottish Cup specialist, Ken Eadie, whose goals helped the Bankies to the semi-final 2 years ago.
Getting to the semi-final was a highlight of certainly my career and most of all the other guys as well, I think.
How much does it whet the appetite for trying to do the same again this time?
I think there's a bigger urgency to get there this season, because I remember 2 years ago when we got there, we didn't particularly play well. I didn't personally play well, so I've got something to try and achieve now.
This was the Dundee goal which finally broke the resistance of Stirling Albion in the last round. The Division 1 leaders want to back up promotion with some cup success. But they'll need to be at their best against Falkirk. They played a starring role in last season's cup. Dundee's Simon Stainrod isn't registered to play against his old team.
It's very disappointing. I would imagine it's disappointing for the Falkirk supporters as well, because I'm sure they would have, although found it difficult seeing me playing for Dundee, would have enjoyed seeing me playing. The outcome of the result wouldn't really matter, I don't think. I think they would have just enjoyed, you know, a final glimpse, if you like.
Even when 4 Meadowbank players called off before kick-off with a stomach bug, the Edinburgh side still upset the odds at Kilmarnock. They went through when Tommy Burns missed from the spot in a penalty shootout. Tomorrow, just as in the 4th round last year, it's Morton who stand between them and an historic place in the quarter-finals. But the Greenock side 3-0 winners last year have their own ideas.
From football to rugby for a few minutes, as Scotland face Ireland at Lansdowne Road in Dublin tomorrow, in a match being treated as one of the most crucial since the Grand Slam decider 2 years ago. The fear is that defeat could send Scotland spinning towards their first championship whitewash since 1985. Scotland and Ireland are both pointless at the foot of the Five Nations table. The Irish have lost to Wales and England, while the Scots were hammered by the English at Murrayfield.
Lansdowne Road in Dublin holds many happy memories for Scottish rugby supporters, none greater than the Triple Crown in 1984. But tomorrow's match isn't about championships. It's being viewed as a watershed for both countries and a pointer as to who will end up holding the wooden spoon.
It's very important. It's a very important game for myself and for the team. You know, I think it's a game we have to win. We don't like losing, and it's something that this side, the nucleus of the side, as you say, isn't used to. And when you speak to the players and you speak to them as we have done over the past 4 weeks since we last played, you know, they're very keen to put things right.
Scotland were convincingly beaten by the English in their opening Five Nations match. The selectors have resisted the temptation for change and stood by that side. And the players refuse to talk about a lean spell and deny there's any need to rebuild.
If you ask the players that are involved, not only the experienced players, but the players who've come in, they want to do well, and they feel the responsibility of, you know, past years on their shoulders now, and they feel that they have to maintain that. They're not going to look back and say, okay, we'll just go through a lean period now because it's our turn to sit in the sidelines. You know, that is the last thing they want. And, you know, starting on Saturday, we have to show that we're back on the road again.
Gavin Hastings' goal-kicking didn't exactly help matters against England. A return to form tomorrow would ease his side's problems and let one of Scotland's sporting heroes sleep a little easier.
Listen, I've been practising my kicking all week, and you know, it's something that causes me a great deal of, I suppose, concern, if you like, before every game, but I don't take the job lightly, and I suppose anyone that's kicked in international rugby will tell you the exact same. It's not an easy thing to kick in international rugby, and if anyone tells you differently, they're absolutely joking. I can tell you that for a sure.
Do you enjoy being able to take press kicks?
I enjoy when they go over. I don't enjoy when they miss them, but you know, it's my job. I take that responsibility. I kicked very well during the World Cup. I've had one or two mishaps since then, but you know, you don't become a bad kicker overnight, and you certainly don't become a good kicker overnight. It requires a hell of a lot of practice, and you know, I'd like to think I put in as much as anyone else.
Of course, the Irish are also desperate to win tomorrow's match. They've been stung by scathing criticism of their performances against Wales and England. Always difficult to beat in front of their own crowd. The Irish are more determined than ever and have vowed to return to the fiery tradition of spirited and aggressive rugby.
2 weeks after Scotland suffered at Murrayfield, England's grinding progress continued at the expense of Ireland at Twickenham. The thumping win confirmed England's intentions in their Grand Slam defence and raised serious questions about the performance of the Irish.
I think they did make it just that bit too much easy for England. England could quite easily have scored another 2 or 3 tries, but they didn't, and that would have been a decimation. And it's amazing how psychologically people accepted sort of 39 points, but it could have easily crept into the late 50s. But I just think that the Irish defence against England was awful.
The former Ireland and British Lions flanker is well qualified to criticise how the current Irish 15 could do with a player of his talent. But Slattery says lack of quality is not a new problem.
There have been very few Irish sides that have been blessed with an awful lot of talent. And you've got to make that up with outthinking the opposition and greater commitment. I mean, they are the two greatest resources that an Irish side brings onto the field. Talent is the third resource. And I think that we will be depending on those sorely against the Scots.
All is not doom and gloom, though. Ireland's opening day defeat by Wales did have flashes of promise, and this flowing three-quarters movement produced a memorable try. And there was encouragement against the English, with the line-out showing and general performance of second-row Neil Francis, who predicts another entertaining game against the Scots. Why?
Because we're both scavengers. You know, we tend to play sort of off each other and pray for mistakes, and then sort of, you know, lose or use loose ball that comes out of things that we've, you know, worked away from tight situations. And it's just a very loose game. It's 100 miles an hour. If you think the Twickenham game was fast, well, always the Scotland-Ireland game is always a little bit faster.
After 2 defeats out of 2 in this Five Nations, the Irish will play with fear of the wooden spoon in the back of their minds. If they can turn that fear into fire, it could be the Scots who are facing up to a championship whitewash.
And of course there'll be live coverage of that Ireland-Scotland match on Grandstand tomorrow afternoon. More of that later, but first, Rob's sampling some Highland hospitality.
Yes, Hazel, unaccustomed as I am, and Norman Miller is the Caley president, and I like your measures here, Norman. That looks pretty handy.
You're very welcome, Rob.
I imagine you'll be drinking more of that with the gate receipts tomorrow.
Hopefully. I believe the gates receipt will be a record for a Highland League club involved in the Scottish Cup. I believe it'll be over 25,000 tomorrow.
Now, I gather that apart from the champagne, you've also got something for my co-presenter.
Yes, most certainly. We saw her presenting some flowers to John Lambie last week. I think today, being St Valentine's Day, it's the least we could do at the Caley Football Club. Our hospitality is second to none.
Okay, well, you get that bottle out of your hand. I think if you can, Norman, if you can take this sort of atmosphere out onto the pitch tomorrow, it will go rather well.
Well, hopefully, we're quite confident. We know it's going to be a difficult game for us, but we can only expect the lads to go out and do their best, and if they play the way they have done in the previous two cup ties, I'm sure we can hopefully maybe interview the folk again tomorrow night if we've sprung a surprise. Look forward to it anyway, and that's all we got. We can only ask the lads to do their very best.
Okay.
Well, that's nearly all from Friday's sports scene. There's plenty of sporting action on BBC Scotland on One this weekend, starting with Grandstand at 10:30 tomorrow, including international rugby, Ireland against Scotland and France against England. Afternoon sports scene is at 4:40 with the full results service, and there's FA Cup action on Match of the Day at 9:50.
Then on Sunday at 3:30 at BBC Scotland on One, a special edition of The Road to Hampden with highlights of all tomorrow's top action in the Tennant Scottish Cup and live coverage of the draw for the next round. But for now, from Inverness, we leave you with some golden moments from this year's Cup, and we look forward to 20 more. From all of us here, it's good night.
Good night.
The culture.